This is Geometry Semester 1. This is Unit 1, Shapes. This is Lesson 2, Rectangle, Trapezoid, Parallelogram Practice. It's on creatormath.com under the Geometry tab. You might have to type in creatormath.weebly.com into Google to find it. The instructions are copy the following problems into your composition book on the correct pages according to the table of contents with the notes for those pages from creatormath.com. So just to show you that, creatormath.weebly.com. Here's what it looks like on the home page. This is where all your notes are and your practice problems. It looks like this when you get there. Go to Geometry, because that's the content. Pass by the vocabulary. You're going to want to know that all the vocabulary is right on this PDF right here, and that'll help you solve all the vocabulary questions that you're given. This is Semester 2. We're going to scroll down. Sometimes they're in order 1 and 2, and sometimes they're 2 and 1. Gets reversed depending on what the situation is. So this one says Semester 1. It says Table of Contents. This goes on pages 2 through 6 of your composition book. You're going to copy all of this into your composition book. It's going to take about 3 pages. Once you've got it in there, you've got your table of contents for the whole semester. We're in this one here. Shapes is the unit. 2 is the lesson, and this one's Rectangle, Trapezoid, Parallelogram. It goes on these pages of your comp book. Don't take this video's word for it. Go back and check the actual table of contents. By the time you watch this, it'll probably be different. And here are the notes. You click Notes. And up they come. It may take a second to load. I don't know if you saw that little blip right there, but it took a second. And sometimes I have to load it a couple times. It'll explain, what a rectangle is. It'll explain tick marks, arrow tick marks, line tick marks. It'll explain parallel sides, equal length sides, set of parallel lines, parallelogram, rectangle, trapezoid, base angles, bases. It'll talk about vocabulary, what a quadrilateral is, what adjacent means and opposite means in geometry, what a plane is, what perpendicular is, horizontal, vertical, etc. That gets copied into your comp book first on those pages, and then you go and do these problems. Just so you know, there's a copy of these problems. That'll be right here. And once this video is made, you'll see that link there too. You can watch this video. So these are the problems we're working on now. You could print them out, but I wouldn't. I would go straight to the video that we're making now and just draw them into your comp book. All right, with that said, given the following figure, what do these squares in the corners mean? So see this corner? There is a square. The square means 90 degrees, which is also called a right angle. And it means exactly 90, by the way, not just close. It means exactly 90 degrees. Here's one here. So all of these corners are 90-degree angles. And if we drew a triangle and put a square into one of the angles, this now tells us this is a 90-degree angle. This becomes a right triangle. Right triangle. Right, so the word right or 90 degree are synonymous. They mean that this angle here of this shape is exactly 90 degrees. Given the following figure, what do the circled tick marks mean? So see these arrow tick marks? There's one here, 2, and then there's another 1, 2. It means that this side here is parallel to this side here. Those are parallel tick marks, and because there's 2, these 2 match up. Notice these sides have a single tick mark. That is an arrow. That means that this side is parallel to this one. The sides with the arrow tick marks are parallel. Parallel means they lie in the same plane, which is a perfectly flat surface, and they never cross or touch. All right, given the following figure, what do these circled tick marks mean? So there's a tick mark here. It's a line, 1, 2, and these have 2 lines. It means that this side here is the same length as this side here. They are the same length. Notice that these 2 sides have 1 line tick mark and 1 line tick mark. So these 2 match up. They're the same length. But because we now switch to 2 tick marks on these 2 sides, they're, of course, a different length than these sides. The sides with the line tick marks are the same length. What is the name of the following figure? This is a trapezoid, you guys. A trapezoid. And notice that this one has an equal length side here to this side. That's what one tick mark on each side means. These are the same length. If there are two equal length sides, this is an isosceles trapezoid. And I always misspell isosceles. Did I spell it right this time? So, that's interesting. Okay, good. So, this is a trapezoid, and in fact, it's an isosceles trapezoid because it has two equal length sides. You could also have a trapezoid like this. Let's say this one has a side like this. This top is parallel, by the way, to the base, but say this one's stretched out further. So this side is one length. This side is another length. This is also a trapezoid, because, but not an isosceles trapezoid, just a trapezoid. Given the following figure, what do the circled tick marks mean? Two arrows, you should know by now already. We've said it. It means this side is parallel to this side. That's a characteristic of a trapezoid, most of them that we deal with. So here, sides with the arrow tick marks are parallel. Given the following figure, what do the circled tick marks mean? One tick mark. One tick mark. These are lines in this case. It means that the sides with those line tick marks are the exact same length, as we've already said. Given the following figure, what do the circled tick marks mean? Well, so these are angle tick marks. Here's one here. Here's one here. A single tick mark means these two angles are equal measure. A double tick mark here and here means that these two angles are of equal measure. In a trapezoid, this is called a base on top and a base on the bottom. And when I was a kid, I was like, well, isn't the base the bottom? And isn't this at the bottom? Shouldn't it be the base? Well, what if we just went and redrew this thing like this? Now this becomes the base here. So we call them both bases. There's base 1 and base 2. And notice that the angles of this isosceles trapezoid, the angles, base angles are the same. So these would be base angles. They're the same. And these would be base angles. They are the same or equal, the same measure. So the angles are the same measure. Given the following figure, what do the circled tick marks mean? Same thing. So one tick mark here, one tick mark here. These angles are the same measure. And notice they are the base angles of an isosceles trapezoid. They are equal. The angles are the same measurement. Given the following figure, the tick marks show the two sides are the same length. Which tick mark, which length, which makes this what type of trapezoid? Okay, if I could just read. So this is the same length as this. That makes this, like we said earlier, an isosceles trapezoid. Now you're also going to have, just a preview of the future, if this side is the same as this side and this one's a different length. Now this is a different shape, a triangle, but because it has two equal length sides, this is called an isosceles triangle. So that's coming too. Anything with two equal sides gets to be called isosceles. Two equal side lengths. Given the following figure, what is the name of the side labeled A and the side labeled B? Base and base, the bases. As previously explained, I got ahead of myself, but there's the question for it. What is the name of the following figure? So this has a parallel, this side is parallel to this one. I know that because there's one arrow here. And this side is parallel to this one. I know that because there's two arrows here. And when you have two pairs, this is a pair of opposite sides that are parallel, and this is a pair of opposite sides that are parallel. Two pairs of opposite sides that are parallel. This is called a parallelogram. And that, of course, means that we're dealing with a four-sided shape, which we're going to find out in a minute, is called a quadrilateral. And that is in the notes, quadrilateral. Quad means four, and lateral means sides, basically speaking. Okay, you guys, rough translation. A four-sided shape is a quadrilateral, right? Quadrilateral. have a hard time speaking. All right, given the following figure, what do the circled tick marks mean? Double arrow here, double arrow here. This side is parallel to this side. The sides with the arrow tick marks are parallel. Given the following figure, what do the circled tick marks mean? 2 line tick marks here, 2 line tick marks here. This side is the same length as this side. They are equal length sides. The side with the line tick marks are the same length. The point of this early lesson is start to familiarize you with the different notation you're going to see on these shapes and an understanding of what it means to you. Given the following figure, what do the circled tick marks mean? So these angles are considered opposite. In geometry, opposite means across from. Across from might be arrows like that. Since there's 2 tick marks here and 2 tick marks here, this angle is an equal measure to this one. Since there's 1 tick mark here and 1 here, this angle is an equal measure to this angle. Notice that 1 tick mark, this angle, is going to be different than 2 tick mark measure angles. So these are the same, but these are different. Okay, the angles are of the same measure if they have the same number of tick marks. Given the following figure, what do the circled tick marks mean? Same thing, this one's got 1, 1. The measure of these angles in degrees are exactly the same. And in this case, just keep in mind, anything across from each other in geometry is called opposite. That's a little bit hard for students to understand. Opposite means across from. And this is in the notes, by the way. And adjacent, adjacent means next to, right? 2 words you'll see a lot, opposite from or adjacent to, and now you got to know, ooh, it's either across from or next to. It's going to be difficult for you unless you get this understanding down. The angles are the same measurement. All right, that's what this tick mark here and here means. And notice there's 2 there and 2 there. That means those 2 are equal. All right, make sure you're in the right place. You're in Geometry Semester 1. Shapes is the unit. The lesson is rectangle trapezoid parallelogram practice, and it's lesson number 2 on creatormath.com under the Geometry tab. I hope this helps.